What do you do when someone openly disrespects you? Do you snap back, defend your pride, or try to prove who's boss? If you want the shortest route to keeping your dignity and your advantage, here's a counterintuitive truth. Shut up. Cold, calculated silence is one of the sharpest weapons you can own. Most people ruin themselves by reacting. You're not most people. Think about it. Power rarely belongs to the loudest person in the room. It belongs to the one who listens, who watches, who thinks before he moves. The man who speaks little sees everything. He lets other people reveal themselves while he quietly collects information. This is the Machiavellian way, the art of dominance through silence. When someone pushes your buttons, your first instinct will scream for a response. Your pulse spikes, your jaw tightens, your pride snaps like a wire. You want to say something, you want to strike back, you want everyone to know you won't tolerate being walked over. Resist that, because when you react on impulse, you've already lost more than the argument. That reaction isn't you. It belongs to whoever baited you. They reached into your chest, flipped your switch, and puppeteered your anger. Suddenly you're speaking on their terms, doing what they wanted all along, proving you can be controlled. Your words come out hot and obvious, predictable. Your value drops in front of everyone watching. Here's the crucial difference. Average people confuse reaction with strength. A truly powerful person plays the long game. He understands that revenge, if it's worth the effort, is best served cold. Not because he's emotionless, but because he knows timing is more valuable than immediate satisfaction. Don't strike while your ego bleeds. Don't retaliate while you're still raw. Wait, observe, learn. Silence in that moment isn't surrender. It's strategy. While they expect fireworks, you offer a wall. No speech, no flair, just a steady, unreadable calm. That silence becomes a kind of pressure. It forces them to wonder, did I go too far? Why didn't he respond? Is he planning something? Uncertainty is a kind of weapon. It lives inside their head, and it eats at them long after the insult is gone. Meanwhile, the silence is doing more than unsettling them. It's changing you. In stillness, you begin to notice patterns. You study the tone, the posture, the crowd, the alliances. The insult isn't just a single event. It's data. You tape it to your memory. You file it away. And when conditions line up, when the context offers the maximum effect, you won't lash out. You'll act with precision. Imagine this. While they wasted their energy in that moment, you conserved yours. While they celebrated what they thought was a victory, you quietly forged the blade you'd later use to cut their credibility down to size. That's not revenge for the thrill. It's a calculated correction. You expose their arrogance at a time when it matters most, and because you waited, the strike lands with a force that rewrites how others see them. History is full of examples. Masters of strategy didn't fall into petty traps. Caesar, Sun Tzu, Bismarck. They measured, they absorbed insults, and they used them as fuel. They let offenses marinate until the moment came when the opponent's guard was down. Anyone can win a heated argument. That's trivial. But to permanently dismantle a rival's position, that takes patience, discipline, and cold nerves. And here's another advantage. When you stay silent, people will misread you. They'll call you soft, perfect. Let them. The more they believe you're harmless, the less they prepare for you. You become a comfortable target, and comfortable targets are careless. They talk more, show more, and reveal their weaknesses. You will collect those weaknesses like loose change until one day you've got enough to bankrupt them. You don't owe the world a performance of emotion. You're not an actor performing outrage for applause. You are the architect of outcomes, invisible and precise. And when you finally move, you won't argue. You won't yell, you won't explain. You'll execute once, cleanly, and with a clarity that changes how rooms respond when you enter them. So ask yourself now, who really holds power? The man who fires back in hot blood, or the one who holds his response like a loaded instrument, patient, poised, and quietly in control? Perception is an invisible lens. It colors how others judge you. It's not enough to be powerful. You must be perceived as powerful. And the easiest route to that perception is to refuse to hand your reactions to someone else. When someone disrespects you, they're not just testing your patience, they're testing your image of power. And most people fail this test by doing exactly what's expected. They react. Loudly, emotionally, with too many words. They think their anger will prove strength, but it does the opposite. Every word in anger strips away your mystery, and mystery is the oxygen of power. A man who's unreadable, unbothered, unpredictable, he commands respect without ever asking. Why? Because people fear the unknown more than the known. When you meet disrespect with silence, you give them nothing. No crack in the armor, no obvious weakness. You turn yourself into a blank screen onto which they project their own fears. Is he offended? Is he planning something? Is he weak? Or is he dangerous? That spiral of uncertainty eats at them more than your words ever could. They can't categorize you, and what they can't label, they can't control. That's psychological warfare at its finest. Understand this. Silence isn't empty. It's loaded. Every pause, every glance, every refusal to react shifts the weight of the moment. The crowd doesn't remember what was said. They remember how you didn't flinch. Your silence becomes the loudest voice in the room. This isn't cowardice. It's control. Only the desperate fight every battle. The powerful fight only the battles worth their energy. And that selectiveness creates a myth around you. People whisper when they speak of you. They wonder what you might do, not what you just did. That unpredictability keeps enemies cautious and allies disciplined. Even those close to you will feel it. They'll sense they can never fully decode you, never fully predict you. That makes you hard to manipulate, because when people can't read you, they can't play you. They throw their bait, and you remain motionless. They rant, and you stay composed. Their words bounce off like stones against a fortress wall. And soon, it's not you who looks desperate. It's them. Silence turns the spotlight from the offender back to you. Suddenly, you're the one who holds composure while they unravel in their own noise. The energy of the room shifts. Your silence is not a void. It's a mirror. Their chaos reflects back on them. Your restraint makes them look like fools. That's the paradox. Silence, which most mistake for weakness, is in fact the highest form of dominance. It says, I don't need to argue with you. I don't need to prove myself. I don't even need to acknowledge you. And that dismissal, that refusal to even validate their insult, humiliates them more than any retort. Because people don't crave your rage, they crave your attention. And when you deny them that, they collapse under the weight of their own irrelevance. No one applauds the man left talking to himself. That's humiliation no comeback can match. Your silence also creates paranoia. They don't know if you ignored the insult or if you're planning something devastating. That paranoia makes them insecure, and insecurity eventually makes them unravel. In the end, they start trying to fix it, reframing their words, pretending it was a joke, crawling back to regain the attention they lost. By then, you've already won. Not by striking back, not by arguing, but by refusing to give them what they wanted most: significance. You've revealed that their words never had the power they thought they did, and nothing cuts deeper than realizing they were never a worthy opponent in the first place. This is where control begins. Not in domination of others, but in domination of yourself. Because if they can predict your emotions, they can manipulate you. But when you stay silent, you deny them that access. You become untouchable, unreadable, dangerous. Control is not about noise. It's not about proving you're strong. It's about denying access, refusing to let others play with your emotions like strings on a puppet. When they shout and you don't move, they look like clowns. When they wave their arms and you remain still, they look desperate. And everyone watching sees it. The spotlight doesn't shine on their insult anymore. It shifts to your composure. That's when the room realizes who's really in control. Silence is not weakness. It's a signal, a message to everyone present. I'm not on your level. I'm not here to trade insults. I decide when to speak. I decide when to act. That's power, not in bursts, but in layers. Every time you refuse to react, you build another layer of respect, another layer of presence. And here's the truth most men miss. Control gives you options. It gives you freedom. You don't have to take every shot offered. You don't have to answer every challenge. You don't have to waste your energy on every minor jab. You choose. That's the difference between a hot-headed fool and a ruler. A ruler doesn't fight for ego. He fights for position. He fights for control. He fights only when it shifts the balance of power. When you stay quiet, you hold the sword without swinging it. You let them talk. You let them laugh. You let them guess. They expose themselves while you reveal nothing. They burn their energy while you conserve yours. They reveal their intentions while yours remain hidden. And all the while, you're building, watching, recording, preparing. That silence they mock today becomes the storm they never saw coming tomorrow. Because when you do act, when you finally strike, it's not noise, it's precision. It's one move that rewrites the story, one move that leaves no doubt. Not a reaction, a statement. The weak confuse fairness with strength. They think the punishment should match the offense. But Machiavelli knew better. Equal responses are forgettable. Strategic responses are unforgettable. When you finally move, it's not to match their insult. It's to dismantle their position, to remove their credibility, to erase their illusion of power. And everyone watching learns the same lesson. You don't get to cross this man twice. But here's the beauty. You don't even need to act most of the time. Your silence alone becomes a consequence. It becomes the cold shoulder that cuts deeper than words. It makes them feel invisible, irrelevant, beneath your attention. And there's no trophy for being ignored. That kind of humiliation eats at them in ways no argument ever could. Because disrespect thrives on feedback. It feeds on your reaction, your words, your energy. But when it gets nothing, it starves. It collapses under its own emptiness, and the offender is left with the bitter truth. Their insult meant nothing. They didn't shake you, didn't touch you, didn't even register on your radar. That's what breaks egos. Not your fury, not your volume, but the simple, chilling realization that they were never worth a single word. And once that happens, something strange follows. The ones who disrespected you begin to pull back. They may reframe their insult as a joke. They may try to reconnect, to test if the ice is melted. Some will even start to respect you more, precisely because you didn't react. Why? Because silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates fear. That's how the power shifts. Not through anger, not through clever comebacks, but through cold refusal to engage. Because when people can't predict you, they can't control you. Troll. And what they can't control, they start to fear. Here's the brutal truth. When someone disrespects you, they're not just insulting you. They're baiting you. They're pulling a string, hoping you'll dance. And most people do. They rant, they argue, they try to defend their name, but in doing so, they step right into the trap, because their pride is louder than their judgment. The man who understands power doesn't take the bait. He knows one law that separates kings from pawns. The man who controls his response controls the game. In the heat of disrespect, the real test isn't what was said. It's whether you can keep command of yourself while everyone is watching. People are watching more than you think. They're not just listening to the insult. They're studying you. They want to see if you're easily provoked, if your emotions rule you, if you can handle pressure. If you explode, you've shown weakness. If you stay calm, you've shown mastery. And in that moment, your silence becomes a mirror. Their chaos bounces back onto them, while your restraint makes them look small. Control is leverage. It lets you pick your battles. It lets you decide when, how, and if you respond at all. You don't need to accept every fight that comes your way. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. The powerful man doesn't fight for validation. He fights only when the outcome shifts the balance of power in his favor. And silence gives you the most important advantage of all: unpredictability. If people know exactly how you'll respond, they can plan around you. They can push your buttons, trigger your reactions, and use your predictability against you. But when you remain unreadable, when you don't give them the performance they expect, they lose control. Even your allies, even those close to you, will feel that same unease. They'll learn that you're not a man who can be easily decoded, and that makes them careful. That makes them respect you in ways they never would if you were transparent. This is why silence is more terrifying than noise. Because noise declares your position, but silence leaves people guessing, and the human mind hates uncertainty. In the vacuum of your silence, they start inventing stories. They imagine what you might be thinking, what you might be planning, and that imagination almost always paints you as more dangerous than you really are. That's the power of perception. It's not who you are that matters. It's who they think you are. And silence lets you shape that perception without ever saying a word. Think about it. When someone lashes out at you, everyone expects you to lash back. But when you don't, the story changes. The focus shifts. Suddenly, it's not about what was said. It's about how you didn't respond. And that quiet refusal becomes louder than any insult. People start to talk. They say, "He didn't respond because he didn't need to," or "She must have something planned." They begin building your image for you. They create the myth of your strength, while you sit back and say nothing. That's real dominance. The man who yells for respect rarely gets it. The man who stays silent after disrespect forces respect upon himself, not because he demanded it, but because everyone else imagines what he's capable of. And imagination, my friend, is always more terrifying than reality. Disrespect is everywhere. It's cheap, it's petty, it's loud. People throw it at you not because they're strong, but because they're desperate to pull you down into the mud. And most fall for it. They react, they defend, they explain, and in doing so, they hand over their power. But here's the reality. When you stay silent, you don't just ignore the insult. You erase it. You deny it oxygen. You make it insignificant. And the one thing weak men cannot tolerate is being insignificant. They wanted your reaction because your reaction would have given them proof that their words mattered. When you stay quiet, you strip them of that. You show them they never held any power over you to begin with, and that silence cuts deeper than any comeback ever could. It leaves them standing alone, exposed, talking to themselves. That's humiliation. Not the kind that sparks applause, but the kind that eats away at their pride in private, long after the crowd has moved on. The longer you master this, the more the balance of power shifts. People stop testing you. They stop throwing jabs because they realize you don't play the same game. They can't provoke you, they can't predict you, and they can't control you. Instead, they start to respect you, not out of kindness, not out of affection, but out of caution. Because they've learned the hard way. You are not a man who can be dragged down. This is how myths are born. Not through shouting, but through restraint. Not through noise, but through the chilling quiet of someone who doesn't respond like everyone else. In time, your silence builds a reputation louder than words. People whisper about you. They say, "Careful, don't cross him," or "She doesn't react like the rest." And that reputation follows you into every room. It becomes armor. Understand this. True power is not about reacting to every insult. True power is about making insults irrelevant. It's about showing the world that you are untouchable because you choose what deserves your energy, and most things don't. That's the essence of Machiavellian control. Not rage, not chaos, but silence. Cold, disciplined, deliberate silence. So, the next time someone disrespects you, remember, the real trap isn't their words. The real trap is your pride begging you to respond. Don't take the bait. Don't give them what they want. Stay quiet. Let them wonder. Let them squirm. Let their own noise collapse back onto them. And when the time comes to act, act once with precision, with calculation, with such force that no one ever forgets. Because power doesn't survive in noise. Power survives in silence. Stay quiet. Stay unreadable. Stay dangerous.